Welcome to this explainer. Think for a second about how completely mundane our daily routines have become with smartphone apps. I mean, we literally just tap a screen and within minutes, a total stranger arrives to drive us home. Or a different stranger shows up right at our doorstep holding our dinner. We've completely normalized this modern convenience, right? We're handing over our personal safety and honestly a shocking amount of trust to invisible algorithms. But what happens when that system of trust completely breaks down? Well, today we are analyzing 4 verified, genuinely terrifying accounts from the gig economy that reveal a 360-degree threat landscape where no one, not the driver, not the customer, and certainly not the passenger, is truly safe.
Okay, let's dive right into this. Who is really behind the wheel? That is the central mystery we are unpacking today. We usually only think of rideshares and delivery apps from our own personal perspective, right? Just trying to get from point A to point B. But the source material we're examining today breaks this entire ecosystem down into 3 distinct vantage points: the vulnerable driver, the unsuspecting customer at home, and the passenger trapped in the back seat. By looking at all 3 of these angles, we're going to uncover a much larger systemic risk.
Section 1. The gig economy's dark side. Convenience meets vulnerability.
Section 2. Danger in the back seat. The driver's risk.
You know, it's incredibly easy to forget just how vulnerable drivers actually are out there. Take our first verified account, which takes place during the height of the 2020 pandemic. It's midnight, a driver pulls up to a dark, closed-down bowling alley and picks up a tall, 6'2" guy in a gray hoodie. The app says his name is Derek. Derek gets into the car, his voice is completely flat, just totally emotionless, and he proceeds to stare unblinkingly at the back of the driver's head. About 20 minutes into the ride, Derek directs the driver to pull into the driveway of this dark, seemingly abandoned house with a crazy overgrown lawn. Derek gets out, walks around the side of the house, totally out of view, and 2 minutes later rushes back to the car empty-handed, looking visibly angry and worked up. He demands the driver take him to the other place, completely refusing to update the app. So the driver, understandably nervous, drives him back to the original bowling alley. Derek just sits in pure silence until they arrive. Then he leans forward, asks the driver if he ever wonders how he'll die, and delivers this absolute chill of a threat. You picked the wrong guy up tonight. And then he just walks off into the darkness. But honestly, here is the most terrifying detail of this whole ordeal. When the driver got home and checked the app to report the incident, the trip data had completely vanished. Derek's name, his profile picture, the entire trip history, it was entirely blank. It was literally as if the ride never existed. And the vulnerability of these drivers doesn't stop there. Jump to 2021. It's 1:30 a.m. and another driver picks up a passenger named Chris. Chris sits in the back, dead silent, holding his phone flat in his lap with the flashlight on, just shining this eerie beam upward into the dark car. After a super tense 25-minute drive out to an isolated suburban neighborhood, they arrive at a pitch-black house. Chris steps out of the car, leaves the door wide open, and just stands there staring at the empty, dark house for a full minute. Now, what's really interesting about this next moment is the sheer psychological terror of it. The driver tells Chris, "Hey, shut the door, request a new ride." But Chris just stares at him with this flat, emotionless expression and whispers, "I can't, they're not gone yet." And he completely refuses to elaborate on who they actually are. He just slowly backs away toward the dark house, and the terrified driver does what any of us would do. He immediately speeds off into the night. But guys, the nightmare wasn't over. The driver stops at a brightly lit 24-hour gas station a few blocks away, just to use the restroom. He's inside for exactly 4 minutes. He had absolutely locked his car doors. But when he walks back out to his vehicle, his brain just short-circuits. Because Chris, the exact same passenger he literally just left at the dark house, is sitting right back inside the locked car, wearing the same hoodie with the exact same blank expression. The driver is panicking, obviously, threatening to call the police, but Chris simply leans forward, close enough for the driver to actually hear him breathing, and whispers, "They're still in the house." Paralyzed by fear and honestly thinking Chris might be having some severe manic episode, the driver reluctantly drives him back to the dark house, dropping him off a second time. And to this day, the driver deeply regrets not just calling the cops right then and there.
Section 3. Terror at your doorstep. The customer's risk.
So it's not just the drivers who are in danger. Sometimes the threat comes directly to your own home. Consider the story of an 18-year-old girl living alone in an isolated apartment with her tiny dog who just wanted to order some dinner. She lives about 8 miles out of town and was busy cleaning her apartment for her boyfriend's weekend visit. Not wanting to mess up her kitchen, she orders Uber Eats around 6 p.m. The app shows a white Honda Fit Sport arriving. Then the app says delivered. But when she opens her door, the food is totally missing. Suddenly, her next-door neighbor knocks. He had actually intercepted the food because, as he warned her, the delivery driver wasn't just dropping off a meal, he was actively peering through her apartment windows.
And this brilliantly illustrates how terrifyingly fast these situations can escalate. At 6 p.m., she gets that warning. By midnight, her tiny 5-pound Morkie dog starts aggressively growling at her bedroom window. At 12:15 a.m., violent banging starts on that exact same window. She's literally hiding under her bed covers, calling 911 and grabbing a kitchen knife. When the police arrive, they find the driver's white Honda parked in an empty field nearby and fresh, muddy footprints right outside her easily opened bedroom window. The police tell her they'll keep an undercover watch, and thank goodness they did, because at 2 a.m. the police arrest that very same delivery driver as he is actively attempting to break in through her front door.
Section 4. The fake driver trap. The passenger's risk.
Our final account follows a 26-year-old guy who flew into Washington, D.C. to visit his fiancée, Sarah, for her basic training graduation. After spending 4 exhausting hours just walking around the Lincoln Memorial and the White House, they just want to get back to their hotel room. Sarah orders a ride on her phone. About 10 minutes later, an unmarked gray minivan pulls up in a non-parking zone. Sarah opens the door and asks, "Uber for Sarah?" The driver doesn't speak. He just gives this silent nod. Exhausted, they both blindly get into the back of the gray minivan, handing over their complete trust.
So the crucial point here is that they made a terrifying assumption. They just assumed the driver matched the photo, that the license plate was correct, and that they were definitely heading to their hotel. But their reality was vastly different. 5 minutes into this dead silent drive, Sarah realizes they are going in the completely opposite direction of their hotel. Suddenly, Sarah's phone buzzes with a notification. It's a message from their actual Uber driver saying he just arrived at their pickup spot. They realize with absolute horror that the man driving them is not their Uber driver at all, and they are locked in a moving van heading to an unknown location.
The narrator realizes, okay, I have to act immediately. He leans forward, telling the driver they've changed their minds and they just want to get out. The driver just stares at them through the rearview mirror and keeps driving in dead silence. With his patience totally gone and survival instincts kicking in, the narrator pulls a pocket knife from his pocket, flips the blade open, and delivers an ultimatum. I have a knife, and if you don't pull this car over right now, I have no problem using it. Seeing the knife, the fake driver immediately pulls over and unlocks the doors, peeling away the second they jump out onto the street.
When their actual Uber driver finally does pick them up, he reveals a really chilling piece of context. He warns them that there had been a recent string of fake drivers actively targeting exhausted tourists in that exact area. These predators literally just wait for people who are too tired to verify their rides, and they just nod when tourists ask, "Are you my Uber?" The real driver noted that many people had recently gone missing this exact way. They were only saved because they paid attention to the route and happened to be armed.
Let's move to Section 5, Surviving the Ride, Taking Back Control. Look, the gig economy is incredibly convenient, but the underlying lesson here is that blind trust is a critical vulnerability. We can actually translate the regrets of these survivors into a concrete 3-step survival guide to ensure your safety in the gig economy ecosystem. Step 1, before you even touch the car handle, verify the license plate and the driver's photo. Do not assume the car pulling up is yours just because it's convenient. Step 2, never give them your name first. Make them say who they are picking up. If they can't say your name, do not get in. And step 3, always track the GPS route on your own phone from the back seat. If the car deviates from the route into a dark or unfamiliar area, you need to know instantly so you can demand they pull over.
These accounts serve as a stark reminder of the super fragile threat of security we rely on every single day. The technology connecting us is incredibly smart, sure, but it absolutely cannot protect you once you are isolated with a stranger with bad intentions. So I want to leave you with this lingering thought. The next time your phone buzzes to tell you your ride or your fruit is here, take a second. Look closely. You check the license plate, right? Stay vigilant, stay safe, and thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.